Hi students, in the last lecture we have discussed about Coulomb's law and the basic properties of electric charge. In this session we are going to discuss about Gauss law and we want to know about the electric flux to know about the Gauss law. Why we want to know about electric flux? So the Gauss law is nothing but the relation between the electric flux and the charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface. That's why we want to know about electric flux. The electric flux is related with electric lines of force. What do you mean by electric lines of force? This also we want to know that. Knowing about this electric flux and electric field lines of force, we can describe the Gauss law. Electric lines of force. What do you mean by electric lines of force? To understand that, let us consider a isolated charge. So this charge can be accelerated by a negative charge. So if you accelerate that, this charge will travel towards the negative charge. So the imaginary straight line or curved path in which this positive charge will tend to move in an electric field is nothing but electric lines of force. These electric lines of force has some properties. What are all the properties? The lines will start from positive charge and it ends with the negative charge. These lines will never interact. If the lines are very close to each other, then the electric field intensity is very strong there. If the field lines are far away, then the field will be weak there. Then next point is if you want to find the direction of the electric field intensity, then we can draw a tangent at a point in the electric lines of force. The direction of the electric field can be found when if you consider a point at the field lines and the tangent drawn to the point. The direction of the tangent will give the direction of the electric field intensity at that point. And the next property is if you want to know about the number of lines produced by each positive charge, then we can tell that each positive charge will tend to produce 1 by epsilon naught times the lines of force. So these are the basic properties of electric lines of force. The electric flux. To know about the electric flux, consider a surface in an electric field E. So the surface is perpendicular to the direction of the electric field. The surface has an area of A. Now in that surface area, how much number of electric lines of force is crossing? If you want to find that, then draw a normal to the surface. The normal will be perpendicular to the plane surface. So the normal and E will make an angle theta. So if E and A makes an angle theta, the flux through the surface can be written as pi is equal to E dot A. So the dot product, since the electric field is a vector and the area, the normal drawn to the surface area is also a vector, this pi is equal to E dot A. This dot product can be pi is equal to EA cos theta, where this theta is the orientation of the surface in the electric field E. So that's why pi is equal to EA cos theta. Now if you see that the electric flux depends upon the surface area and the orientation of the surface in the electric field. The orientation is given by theta and the surface area is A. Now let us consider the electric field is acting in this direction and we are considering a surface of area A here. So this area is making angle theta with this electric field. So this orientation is perpendicular to the electric field. If you consider that surface is tilted at some angle, so this tilted surface will have a projection. So if you find the projection, that is called A cos theta. So that's why we can tell that the flux through the plane surface having theta with the electric field will be equal to the flux through the tilted surface. Both will be depending upon the projection of this area, that is A cos theta. So we can write pi is equal to EA cos theta. Therefore, the electric flux is a measure of number of electric lines of force through the given surface in an electric field. One more thing is, this electric flux depends upon the strength of the electric field on the surface area and the orientation of the area in the electric field. That's why this equation contains pi is equal to EA cos theta, where A is the area and E is the electric field intensity. So the strength of the electric field intensity on that area and theta is the orientation of the area in the electric field. Both this parameter will define the electric flux. So we can write pi is equal to EA cos theta. Now let us consider the surface is tilted at some angle theta with respect to the electric field. If you want to find the electric flux through that surface, then we can easily use the projection formula. The area is projected and the projection will be given by A cos theta. In that expression, if we substitute pi is equal to Ea cos theta, this A cos theta is nothing but the projection. So if you know the projection, then we can find the flux through the tilted surface. If you find the flux through the tilted surface, then it will be equal to the flux through the projection of the tilted surface with respect to the electric field. The projection is given by A cos theta. So we can find pi is equal to Ea cos theta. A cos theta is the projection of the tilted surface. It can be easily found if you know the orientation of the surface area with respect to the electric field. Now we know about the electric lines of force and the electric flux. With this knowledge, we can move to Gauss law. What is Gauss law? This Gauss law is nothing but the relation between the flux through the given surface in an electric field and the charge enclosed by the surface. Hence, the Gauss law will explain the flux through the given surface is equal to the charge enclosed by the surface divided by epsilon naught. The summation Q is nothing but the charge enclosed by the surface. So the flux can be written as pi is equal to summation Q divided by epsilon naught. So this can be related to the previous flux. So this can be remembered with the previous explanation for flux. The flux is nothing but the total number of electric lines of force crossing through the given surface. How these electric lines of force, the total lines, can be found? Then the surface will be enclosing some charge. That charge is producing the electric lines of force. That's why the Gauss law is relating the electric flux and the net charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface. Now we can see that how we can apply this Gauss law to find the electric field. To know about that, consider an example. Let us consider a infinitely charged plane sheet which is positively charged, and sigma is the surface charge density. In this case, construct a Gaussian cylinder which is an imaginary surface. The axis of the cylinder is perpendicular to the charged plane sheet. This Gaussian cylinder is crossing through the charged plane sheet, and half of the cylinder will be on the one side and half of the cylinder will be in the other side. The two plane caps on either side of the cylinder will be having a surface area, that is A. Now we want to find the flux through the curved surface of the cylinder and the flux through the plane caps. The flux through the curved surface of the cylinder will be definitely 0, because the flux through the curved surface of the cylinder, if we want to find, then we want to know about the theta will be the angle between the electric field and the normal drawn to the curved surface of the cylinder. If we find that, then theta will be equal to 90 degree. If theta is equal to 90 degree, the flux through the curved surface pi is equal to Ea cos 90. Cos 90 is 0. So the flux through the curved surface is 0. Now we can move to the plane caps. In the case of plane caps, the theta is the angle between the electric field and the normal drawn to the plane cap. If you find that, the theta will be equal to 0. If you apply theta is equal to 0, cos 0 is equal to 1. So in that case, pi is equal to Ea cos theta, cos 0, that is Ea. So we have two plane caps on either sides. If you find the total flux through the plane caps, then that is equal to 2Ea. Now we found the flux through the plane caps. So this is the total flux through the entire Gaussian cylinder. Now we can move to the Gauss law. According to Gauss law, the flux will be equal to the net charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface divided by epsilon naught. The net charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface, if we want to find, we want to multiply the surface area of the cylinder into surface charge density of the plane sheet. So that is sigma into A. So the flux will be written as sigma A by epsilon naught. So we found the sigma according to Gauss law, and we found the flux by using Gauss law and flux through the formula. Now equating both this, if we equate 2Ea is equal to sigma A by epsilon naught. So A get cancelled. Therefore E is equal to sigma by 2 epsilon naught. So the electric field at the point will be equal to E is equal to sigma by 2 epsilon naught. This is a simple example to apply Gauss law to find the electric field due to the infinitely charged plane sheet. Let us see about the special symmetries and how this Gauss law is applied for special symmetry. And for this, we want to consider four parameters. The first parameter is a Gaussian surface, and the second one is charge density, and the third one is electric field, and fourth one is flux. What are the symmetries we are going to see? Three symmetries. The first symmetry is spherical symmetry, and the second symmetry is cylindrical symmetry, and the third one is planar symmetry. Now we can see about the Gaussian surface for these symmetries. The first one, for spherical symmetry, the Gaussian surface will be a sphere which will be constructed from the center of the point. And the second symmetry, cylindrical symmetry, the Gaussian surface will be in the second symmetry, that is cylindrical symmetry, the Gaussian surface will be in the form of a cylinder. In the third symmetry, that is planar symmetry, the Gaussian surface will be a plane. Now the second parameter we can see, that is the charge density. The charge density is depending upon the distance of the point from the center of the sphere, that is radial distance. And the charge density for cylindrical symmetry, it depends upon the distance from the center of the line, that is axis of the cylinder. And the third, planar symmetry, the charge density depends on the distance of the point from the plane. So this is the second parameter. And the third parameter, the electric field. The electric field is constant at spherical surface. In cylindrical symmetry, it will be constant at a curved surface, and in planar symmetry, the electric field is constant at the plane. And the fourth parameter is electric flux. The electric flux is maximum when E is parallel to A. In the case of spherical symmetry, E is parallel to A, and the flux through the spherical surface will be maximum. And in cylindrical symmetry, E is parallel to A at the plane caps, and E is perpendicular to A in the curved surface. So the flux will be maximum at the plane caps, and the flux will be 0 at the curved surface. In the planar symmetry, the E is parallel to A, and the flux will be maximum, and E is perpendicular to A, the flux will be minimum. The geometrical representation of this special symmetries are shown in this slide, and from the slide it can be easily understood that the electric field, whether it is parallel to that area considered or not. If E is parallel to A, then the flux will be maximum. As another example, we can consider the Gauss law, how to apply this Gauss law for infinitely charged plane. Let us consider the charged plane of area A. The surface charge density is sigma. We want to find the electric field at a point which is at a distance of r from the charged plane. In order to find, we want to construct a Gaussian surface. Here, the Gaussian surface is the rectangular pillbox which runs through the plane on either sides equally. Now, let us consider the area of that Gaussian pillbox is A. Now, we want to find the flux through the sides of the pillbox and the plane caps at both ends of the pillbox. If you want to find the flux through the pillbox, then we want to consider the plane caps and the sides. Through the sides, E and A is perpendicular to each other, so cos 90 is equal to 0. Therefore, the flux through the sides will be equal to 0. Only the flux through the plane caps will be there. Since we have two plane caps, the flux through the top plane cap is EA and the bottom plane cap is EA. So the total flux will be 2EA. Now, by Gauss law, the flux through the pillbox will be given by sigma A by epsilon naught, where sigma is the surface charge density and A is the area of the pillbox. Equating both, we get pi is equal to 2EA is equal to sigma A by epsilon naught. From that, we can find E is equal to sigma by 2 epsilon naught. A get cancelled. The geometric representation of the Gaussian surface is shown in this slide. From this slide, it can be understood that the orientation of A with respect to E. If E is parallel to A, then the flux through the surface is maximum. If E is perpendicular to A, the flux will be minimum. Now we came to the end of this session, and I hope you understood about the Gauss law and how to apply the Gauss law to find the electric field. In the upcoming session, we are going to see about the inverse square law. Thank you.